Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Namaste and a very warm welcome to all of you to the Blub World Web Talks 159th episode. In the last 158 episodes, we have interacted with, talked to, understood from nearly 3,000 plus school leaders on this very platform that what are they doing in the education space and how do they think education is evoluting. तो पिछले 158 एपिसोड्स में करीबन 3,000 से ज्यादा स्कूल प्रिंसिपल्स इसी प्लेटफॉर्म पर आकर अपने आइडियाज, ओपिनियंस, इनोवेशंस हमारे साथ साझा कर चुके। उसमें से करीबन 200 से 500 आइडियाज व्हाइट पेपर्स में पब्लिश हो गए और अभी करीबन दुनिया के 8 से 10,000 स्कूल्स में एक्सपेरिमेंट किए जा रहे हैं। So in these last 158 episodes, whatever ideas we could put together, right now these are put to test in nearly 8,000 plus schools across the world. Blub World with these Blub World Web Talks is simply trying to do one thing, building the world's biggest education repository of innovations. तो आज अगले 60 मिनट जो आप हमारे साथ में हैं, हम आपसे जानने की कोशिश करेंगे on your ideas, your innovation in education and most importantly, आप क्या सोचते हैं about the internet, about social media and how does this impact the teens that we teach. So once again, a very warm welcome to the Blub World Web Talks 159th episode. We'll now be talking about how is social media impacting the growth of teens and how is it impacting us in the education ecosystem. We have an amazing array of guests today जो कि आज हमारे साथ बहुत अलग-अलग फील्ड्स का एक्सपीरियंस साझा करेंगे, जिसमें स्कूल लीडर्स भी हैं, कुछ म्यूजिक एक्सपर्ट्स भी हैं, कुछ इंडस्ट्री सीमेंट एक्सपर्ट्स भी हैं। बहुत तरीके का एक्सपोजर इस पूरे 60 मिनटों में हमारे साथ में होगा। Before we start, just to set some of the ground rules, Blub World Web Talks is a timed platform. Think of it like a speaking sprint. It's not a speaking marathon. So once your speaking time is over, you might get muted. If you get muted, please don't get offended. It's just to keep the activity crisp and enjoyable for everyone. So the format is pretty simple. In the first section, we'll be talking to you for your opening statements within a small stipulated time. Beyond that, it's an open floor. Secondly, most important thing, this is a bilingual platform. आप अंग्रेजी या हिंदी में से कोई भी भाषा इस्तेमाल कर सकते हैं। कोशिश कीजिए इन्हीं दो में से कोई इस्तेमाल करें। If you still want, you can use a third language, but I won't get it. So try using either English or Hindi during the complete conversation. So today, let's now listen to these amazing people on what do they think on how is social media impacting the growth of teens. Now this topic sounds super conventional, but what we now want to know from you, the definition of social media has revamped, re-evoluted, and right now in a completely new scenario. It's no more just a network that connects you. It's a network that judges you. It's a network that builds a complete user image at the back end to typically sell it to people globally. So when it's a lot of AI and artificial reality coming in, social media has got many new facets added to it. Now, how do you think this complete monster in the technology space impacts our teens or typically everybody in the whole wide world? A very warm welcome to all the speakers. Let me invite the first speaker for today to open the roundtable or set the ball rolling. Somebody who adds the experience of the industry of music in it, comes from a very respected family in the classical music arena. A very warm welcome, Dr. Bindu Subramaniam, CEO and co-founder of SAPA, Subramaniam Academy of Performing Arts from Bengaluru, Karnataka. Bindu, over to you for the next 3 minutes. Please unmute your audio and a very warm welcome.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having me here. I think social media is a very important part of every young person's life today, whether we want to accept it or not, especially given the situations that we're facing now with the pandemic and the inability to sort of meet in public. I think social media is a primary channel for communication among young people. And often when we think about social media, we're just in a position where we end up highlighting the difficulties around social media, whether we're talking about bullying, whether we're talking about, the need for validation, the need for, kind of how many likes am I getting? How many people have engaged with what I've posted? Am I good enough? Do I look like the perfect people on social media? And all of those are very real challenges. And I'm sure that we'll hear more on that from other speakers as well, because this is very top of mind for all of us as educators. But the perspective that I wanted to bring in today is how we create an environment that allows them to engage in social media, which is critical for them, but still allows them to maintain a sense of identity and self-worth. So especially when you're looking at creative fields, if you want to be a musician, or if you want to be a storyteller, if you want to be an actor, if you want to be a sports person, there is a certain amount of engagement that is necessary between you and the public. And as a person who's been on stage since I was very young, I can say that I'm old enough now that I didn't grow up with social media. So I wasn't on Facebook as a 12-year-old, so I didn't have to deal with the blowback there. But the generation today does, right? So what we try to do as parents and educators is try to make sure that they understand the limitations of the format, that it is important to present portions of yourself that you want to communicate to the public, but it is also important to keep portions of yourself safe, right? When people pretend that they're putting everything out there, it's a very curated effort. Is this my breakfast? This is what I'm showing. I'm a superstar that's showing you my breakfast. Is this really my breakfast? It might not be, right? It could. This is the portion of me that I choose to show to you. This is the portion of me that I want you to engage with. So as a child, as a teenager, it's important for them to know the difference between the curated presentation that celebrities are making and them revealing too much of themselves, firstly. And secondly, if you're communicating your art, you need to have a community around you and behind you that allows you to create validation for yourself apart from that. Because you can spend a lot of time creating a song or a dance or something, and you get 5 likes. Or on the other side, you can do something that's very top of mind, very haphazard, and that can get a lot more engagement. So if you start weighing yourself against how the social media world reacts to you, then you're putting someone else in charge of both your career and your content creation path. So it's really important to help young people understand that social media is not evil. It's really important, but the way that you engage with it needs to be sort of careful and protected.
Thank you so much, Bindu. Let me try to summarize what you said to take the talk forward. You started with social media now is a primary channel. We all understand that it's kind of a community that is the world for us since the lockdown began. That is the world for us. The virtual world has in some way become the real world. The focus that we normally have when we talk about the internet or the social media is mostly on the problems or the challenges that we face and the bad things or the negative aspects that we see in it. But now when we look at social media and when we know that it's the only enabler that brings the society together, we must think of creating an environment that engages and at the same time does not hurt each individual's self-worth, because that's what it does right now to teenagers. It impacts their self-image a lot, and that's what impacts their real life even more and to a far more deeper level. Preserving their self-worth is important, and when you talk about performing arts or when you talk about careers which typically require a lot of public engagement, that's where the real challenge comes up, because children normally don't understand the alter ego that's present on the social media for everybody, because we are not putting out everything that we have in our mind, and we always must understand whatever we see is curated in some or the other way. So we need to ourselves be curators of content before we start consuming that. And finally, I think a very important point that you made that must right now be preserved in all the school education ecosystem is always encourage each child to have a community of real people around him and not just rely on the social media community that you have. Because now we need these two worlds to be there separately, existent and collaborating with each other. So thank you so much, Bindu, for initiating the roundtable in the, I think, the most apt manner. Let me invite the next speaker for today, who will add the perspective of how do these teens react to social media when they come into the higher education arena, when they get all sorts of independence, and when they're typically talking of the creative careers, how do they think that the teen evolutes and how does the media impact them? A very warm welcome, Mr. Chaitanya Chinchalkar, Vice President and Chief Technology Officer for Whistling Woods International, Mumbai, Maharashtra. Chaitanya, over to you for the next 3 minutes. A very warm welcome.
Hi, hello, good evening, everybody. I want to take one point that Dr. Bindu mentioned and take it forward, right? So we get in approximately 3,000 applications every year. I'm part of the interview process as well. And within the first 10 minutes of the interview, I can tell from a student how long the student spends on social media on a daily basis. Because you understand how people react to feedback, how people react to situations you give them very, very easily based on what their interaction with their world is. So if you do have a lot of real friends, like you kind of mentioned, and you're not relying too much on your social media friends, quote unquote, you actually take feedback much more openly. You're actually much more open to criticism. You're much more open to, even being told that you're wrong. But the moment you see somebody get defensive, you automatically understand that, right? And it's natural, right? It's not their fault because that's what they've been grown up on. Teenagers shouldn't have that kind of pressure or that kind of that consistent dopamine effect into their brain. That's something that as an adult you can barely handle. So as kids, so there should literally be no chance, because adolescence is that time when they're transitioning from wanting their parents' approval to wanting their friends' approval, and they need to make real friends, and they need to have that real approval or disapproval, because that disapproval also teaches them or teaches them social behavior, teaches them a lot of other things, right? And as you go from being that angsty teenager, and every teenager is angsty in various degrees, which is frustrating for us parents. I mean, if I'm a parent. So, but it's very important for them, because that's when they learn how to actually channelize their inner thoughts and how to channelize their feelings. They actually realize who they are, right? And while social media is an outlet for who they are, like Dr. Bindu said, they have to understand that actually you have to stop calling it social media platform. You have to call them digital marketing platform, because that's what they are. Everybody's putting out the best version of themselves on social media. Everything's airbrushed, everything's filtered. All Instagram posts are like the best vacation you ever had. Nobody puts the fact that whatever the plane that they were going on has bed bugs in it, whatever, right? They don't put the bad stuff. They only put the good stuff. So it kind of sets unrealistic expectations for everybody. And so when you take the awareness that this is a marketing platform, and then you weigh your interaction with that marketing platform accordingly, it automatically puts you in a far more comfortable position. The problem is when people don't do that, right? That's when it sets completely unrealistic expectations of what they think their life should be. And then they start to compare it with the best of everybody's life. And that's when you start to run into problems everywhere. But narratively, most people don't know how to react to a problem. They may, because they've never really had to solve the problem, because they never really had real friends, right? Real emotions, real, if they're breakups, even if they had to have, the breakup is very easy on social media. You just ghost the person and you've broken up. You don't really need to have that, I need to talk conversation. So it's just a combination of many of these individual personal interactions, which are very, very important to you when you're a storyteller, when you're a narrative content creator, because you are reaching within to find that narrative in you to kind of bring it out in whichever story you tell. So essentially, if you're able to separate the fact that messaging services are okay to connect with each other, but everything else is a digital marketing platform, and you have to put it on par. It's once that happens, once that change in the mindset happens, then everything will fall into.
Thank you so much, Chaitanya. Let me try to again put together some of the important points out of your talk. Reactions typically give us a map of the individual. I think that's a very good way to judge the teens that you get into your institution, and then taking them through the complete journey, because their defensiveness in some of the other way tells us their indulgence on the different kinds of media that they use or are present on. Most importantly, the biggest challenge that people are facing right now, or typically teens and parents are facing, you're giving these teens a consistent dose of dopamine. As adults, we cannot handle it. As teens, they cannot. And that's why they get aggressive. That's why they get so anxious about things. So this is the real problem that's there at the back end, that's happening continuously, and nobody's typically talking about it. And most importantly, let's not call social media anymore. Let's call it digital marketing platforms only, because that's what's happening. And finally, the phenomenon of you comparing your normal to everyone's perfect. And that's where the challenge arises. And as individual, that's where you drown a little bit. And you stop, understanding your reality. You start judging your individuality. And as a person, as an individual, you start degrading. So thank you so much, Chaitanya ji, for adding these amazing points to the complete discussion. Let me invite the next speaker for today. Now, before I invite the next speaker, he'll bring in a perspective that would be, I think, from a very different standpoint. He's somebody who's recruiting new people into a very big organization. That organization as a brand is still in its teenage, what we can say, and is now, is typically an offspring of a very established one. But he, who's a chartered accountant who has taught children and right now is in the arena of corporate hiring, when he sees teenagers and these people, young people coming to organizations, their preparedness, and how has the media impacted them. A very warm welcome, Mr. Siddharth Singhvi, Assistant Vice President for Wonder Cement from Udaipur, Rajasthan. Siddharth, over to you for the next 3 minutes. Please unmute your audio and a very warm welcome.
Yeah, thanks, Daksh. So I'm really very glad that the thoughts that I also had are resonating with the two speakers that already spoke before me. There have been some great benefits of social media. Yes, we meet a lot of people online. We see a lot of people. We get connected to a lot of people. Like I have been connected to almost all my classmates for some time now, which was not probably possible 10 years back. So with great benefits, or what we can say, with great power comes great responsibility. So the challenges that I see for the teens are like very specific. When I say, when I was a teen, probably I never ever heard the way the words like depression, anxiety, my life, my rules. No, never. Because I had a lot of friends, I would go out and keep playing at like 2 p.m. in the afternoon, 3 p.m. in the afternoon without any problem. What I see today is, kids battling depression, anxiety at age of 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. And the biggest reason I believe, the biggest probably thing to blame is social media. That is something I firmly believe, because as said that yes, you benchmark yourself with the best of others, your normal life with the best of others. That's a big problem. That's a big challenge in itself. Other than that, the kind of access that the teens have now to the world, and the way things get blown up in the social media. When a big actress comes and says that I battled depression when I was like 10 years back, everybody starts thinking about what is depression. Oh, this is not happening good in life. That this means depression. And that is where these small kids start getting into major problems. They stop believing their parents, they stop believing the society around them. All they believe is the social media, where information is available, but you don't know how right is that, how correct is that, how holistic is that. So that is probably one of the big things that I fear. Is, in fact, I was the one who started. We started a club by name of LOL, Lords of Learning, the real social networking, 10 years back. We founded that so that at least people start coming together, see each other, meet each other, and it becomes in the current world so important, especially after COVID, that we keep meeting people. That's the essence of life. If you are like on screen, and when you are meeting each other personally, that makes a big difference. So like Daksh, you just mentioned, I've been recruiting a lot of people. So when we actually meet them and recruit, that's what I'm doing right now. That makes a huge difference. Whereas when we are hiring online, so that definitely makes a huge difference. And my son, for example, he's just 3.5. He was not out there going school because of COVID. He has started going to school, and his behavior has completely changed when he's among kids. So digitally, I am not a very person who does not actually favor a lot of teens, getting into social media, and that is where parents and kids need to take care of themselves. So that is it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Siddharth ji. So I think what the major points I talked about was connection was good. But most importantly, we know a lot of psychology now. All the teens know a lot of psychology. They know a lot of psychology jargons, and that's where depression has come into our lives. We start with self-abnegation before we start self-appreciation. So that's where we start deprecating or depreciating as individuals. Most importantly, the access of teens, and finally, blowing up of even a small little happening in a celebrity's life to something that's a real issue. Most of the things that we never considered an issue are right now big mandates, and big vested interests get involved just behind that small little tweak or tweet that happened. And finally, the way it happens right now and what most of the organizations are realizing, it's good to get taught virtually. It's even good to get connected virtually, but it's not that good to get paid virtually if you have to work for somebody, because the efficiency goes for a complete toss and we don't get the right kind of individuals in the organization. So thank you so much, Siddharth. I think now when we have added 3 different perspectives of people coming in from different arenas of life, from music, from higher education, and from industry, let's now listen to the people who are handling these teens every single day. And let's hear it from somebody first who handles them in the most critical of situations in a boarding school sort of a setting. A very warm welcome to the next speaker, Captain Alokesh Sen, Principal of Birla Public School from Pilani, Rajasthan. Alokesh ji, over to you for the next 3 minutes. Please unmute yourself and a very warm welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Daksh. And thank you for having me here. And listening to, all the speakers here, my panelists, co-panelists who are here. And as you rightly said, we are the people who are actually handling it on day-to-day basis, every hour, and we are facing the pinch of it. Whatever ill effects you can talk about of the social media, we are the one who are getting the pinch of it. I'm the principal of the school since last almost about 18.5 years, not here, but altogether. And it's a boarding school. Mostly I have remained in the boarding schools. And social media is undoubtedly, it's actually the byproduct of the technology, invasion. And it's a thing of product which we have seen in the 21st century, especially. And 21st century, this generation, all of us, we know that they are extremely intelligent, they are extremely hyperactive. And we educators, we are facing these kind of challenges. And we have been facing this problem of the social media. I mean, our students, in the boarding school using the social media and the ill effects of it. But especially after the pandemic, it is really, these effects have gone by leaps and bounds. They are all confined. They are nowhere in the boarding school. They were at home. And boarding school boys, they behave, they develop a kind of temperament. When they go home, they don't listen to the parents at all because we become their parents. They are tuned to listening to us and the parents are unable to handle. So all the complaints of the parents actually are all coming to us only. And we at a remote place, we have been having this problem of the anxiety, problem of the depression as whatever, what is called, highlight reel, and social media being used as a social currency, and then what is called FOMO, the fear of missing out. They all discuss about how many likes he has got, so he has to remain in the competition. The other boy has to remain in competition. The moment he hear someone is getting about, say, 61 likes, and whereas he has got for the same kind of response or similar kind of response, so he tends to put another post there to get the recognition. So these are the kind of things what the manifestation of this social media, what you find in a school, not only boarding school, it's we are facing it, but generally is ability to focus. This is a big distraction, especially for this kind of age group, very big distraction. He is unable to concentrate, whether it's a study or any kind of skill thing which is there, anything which is there, he's unable to, because it's such easy distraction. And it actually reduces one's capacity to concentrate, that kind of thing. Whereas we are trying all our best to, like there's a lot of games and sports which are played here. There's a lot of activities which are done with a view to enhance their concentration. And but then that, like yoga is one of the things, but then they get so easily distracted. So we are actually fighting against a big uphill task for us to actually keep ourselves. Then the students also have this, what is called the online harassment. And obviously we have been having a lot of our teachers. In fact, our teachers, they were also did not know how to handle it. And gradually a lot of sessions, were conducted even for the teachers, or the training sessions were conducted, and a lot of counseling first for the teachers. Now the teachers are there There are counselors, especially we have had a lot of, program for the teachers to educate them how to handle this people. And we tell them, basically, we try to inculcate what is called a value system.
Thank you so much, Alokeshji. The first 3 minutes were over, but we'll again try to come back to you. You have put out some amazing points, I think, because when you go at the operative level or the execution level of handling these teenagers, the situation changes dramatically. You talked about the hyperactive generation, handling the parents' complaints, because these children engage, what we can say, what you rightly said, they engage with a social media currency. They do not consider social media just as a connection or a mere platform. For them, it's a currency that how famous are you? How much fame do you have? How many likes do you have? How many shares do you have? And that starts impacting their relationships even within the classroom itself. Then you talked about the super easy distraction. And finally, the big fight between the school ecosystem and the social media ecosystem. They are always at loggerheads, always fighting. And when online education came in, they had to shake hands, rather build a very strong friendship. And this is the current ecosystem, which is what we can say, which is in very wavy waters, and we are not able to, bring these two realities together. One which gives them absolute independence, and the other which rather wants to put them through a structured way of learning. So thank you so much, Alokeshji. Let me invite the next speaker for today. The next speaker brings in the experience of the school ecosystem and now of the higher education ecosystem. She has transitioned in both the roles. So a very warm welcome, Miss Indu Kaul, Deputy Director of Admissions and Outreach for Jindal Global University, Sonipat. Indu ma'am, over to you for the next 3 minutes. Please unmute your audio, and a very warm welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for inviting me over again. It's always a pleasure to interact with all learned people and learn from them. What I have to say about this impact of social media, there are positive and negative. So I'll just quickly narrate the positive. It becomes a source of inspiration for all of us, or for the students. When I say all of us, it means students, youngsters. It helps develop their social skills. It helps them know about the politics and the news. It makes them aware of the importance of their health through yoga and other channels. It aids their identity. It helps them understand and develop their individuality. If I have to go on the negative side quickly, because we as teachers to speak for 3 minutes is an impossible task, but then we have to try that. We move on to the unrealistic body image, because seeing the celebrities, then we instill wrong practices and perceptions. Then we get biased informations, and then we might develop violent behavior also because of the media, and might get addicted to this. These are few of the very known, and everybody knows about these plus and minuses. But my focus as a teacher, and now as a senior person moving with the higher education, I would say the pros and cons of media for seniors is that media is must for them. Social platform is a place where they can see, foresee, read ratings, and decide their future. But when I say it about children, when we are talking about children, I say social media will continue to be a support, provided parents intervene in it. Parents need to nurture, guide, educate them the right and the wrong of media, which we are not doing. And we as adults move on to the criticism and the critical aspect of media. Media has so much to give, provided we give that to. We move on our legacy to the children and spend time with them and say, let's see it together, let's play the game together, let's do this together, let's hear and then have a cross-check, a quiz on this, let's do this. So I think then media becomes an a thumbs up for all of us, whereas we know, like we say, when we move to the market, there are negative roads and there are positive roads. It depends on us, what we want to do. So I would like to summarize that media will continue to be an asset in today's life, provided we as parents are there for children, be by themselves, and have a social media time. Thank you. Impossible done, 3 minutes talking. I don't know whether I've done it in 3 minutes or not.
Thank you so much, Indu ma'am. You are absolutely on time. So let me summarize what you said. You talked about the negatives of social media, the positives of it, and most importantly, the addiction syndrome, the violent behavior that comes out of it. And I think the takeaway from your complete talk should be the positive parent intervention, or typically building the family bond on Instagram and the Snapchats of the world. I think that would be a good approach to go forward when we talk of teens, that where they are, let's be there. When in Rome, be like the Romans, but that's what we are not ready to do. As the generation older to them, we are in criticism, we are always as a critique. Rather, we should be somebody who starts using these technologies with them, rather builds the bond on them. So thank you so much, Indu ma'am. Let me invite the next speaker, Ms. Manju Chakravarti, school head of the Green School from Bangalore. Manju ma'am, over to you for the next 3 minutes. Please unmute your audio and a very warm welcome.
Hi, thank you so much, Dash. And thank you so much, Blub World, for giving us this opportunity. This is Manju Chakravarti. I'm representing the Green School Bangalore. And thank you so much, Usha ma'am. So yes, of course, the topic is so interesting. And I so very agree with what just Indu ma'am said, that when we talk about social media, I mean, social media is giving immense of opportunity to the teens to showcase what they want to do. Just imagine 10 to 20 years back when we were in school and all, we had to wait for our annual day or the sports day to showcase our talents. Today, a child sitting at home, especially during this pandemic, you might have noticed that so many kids have showcased their talents, be it performing arts, visual arts, or whatever they want to share. And it has reached out to lakhs and lakhs of people out there. We are in the age of personalization where adults, teens, everyone is connected to each other. We are learning from each other. So this social media is definitely making it as a place. Just imagine another example I would like to give. Imagine a child in a rural village who wants to actually talk and learn about urban planning, green architecture. Does he have to wait to come to the city and understand all this fact? He can do this sitting at home, at one click, he can reach out to any number of people out there in the world who are actually the expert in those areas. And this is how the social media has been talking about. You talk to a teen, the teen talks about follows, likes, shares, and all that. Why don't we encourage that? Yes, this is one thing that where you're reaching out to number of people out there. So I am definitely one of the person who says that social media is a platform for the teens to showcase, to learn, to collaborate. But yes, of course, there is always a thin line where we have to tell them that what is accepted, what is not accepted, what is good, what is bad. That's where at the Green School Bangalore also, we focus on practices rather than talking about rules. When you talk about rules, they actually make it a handcuff, for the teen that, okay, you can't do this, you can't do that. But rather than that, we make it as a practice. Talk to them about what is protecting your own privacy. Talk to them about, disclaimers, talk to them about being honest, talk to them about being, till what extent will you accept the social media, and all these things that definitely will encourage the child, to be honest, to reflect at the end of the day that how much am I encouraging the social media in my life. And at the same time, the social media is giving an opportunity to all of us as an adults also, that, just imagine, Blub World, this is your 159th episode. Imagine if this would have been physical, would you have reached this 159? Of course not. The same is with the Green School Bangalore also. We started with this, brewing chats during this pandemic. Today we are reaching 85th episode. It's only because of the social media. And that's how it is encouraging all of us. And I believe, going back to our days, and when we compare to this days, the teens are exposed to social media. But let's encourage, let's put them into a positive, nutshell, but also giving them a thin line over there.
Thank you so much, Manju ma'am. And I think you typically took us all on a complete ride, or rather a sales pitch of the social media platforms, because you put out the complete positive story out. You talked about the immense opportunities where learning got independent of geography. And I think a very good point that can be rather taken ahead when we talk of this, that when you're talking to teens, don't talk to them about rules, talk to them about practices. But I think we'll again have to test this idea with our experts that we have today on what do they think on these lines. So let me invite the next speaker for today, Mrs. Deepika Rao, former principal of DPSD from Palam Vihar, New Delhi. Deepika ma'am, over to you for the next 3 minutes. Please unmute your audio and a very warm welcome.
Thank you so much, Daksh, for having me here. So I've heard everybody and I've heard some interesting perspectives. And I would just like to say one thing. Social media is here to stay. And that's a fact that it's become a part of our lives. And at the same time, I'm going to take a very balanced approach and say that why schools have a huge challenge with it is because we have a kind of a negative perception associated with it. And we also know that to imbibe it and to make it into something positive, we need to do a lot of hard work, which is about familiarizing students with what exactly is social media and how you can use it the best way. Whenever there's something new, you learn to use that thing, and you also know that it could work for you in some cases and it could not work for you in some cases. So that's the first thing. Second is one of the points that I heard was teachers coming under a lot of stress, and I'm talking from not from a sales pitch, but I'm talking from something which is real, that teachers do have a lot of stress associated with it, and so do the managements and the heads, because they are answerable to them. But you see, again, the teachers need to understand that it is now their role to familiarize students with what is positive social media and what is not positive social media. So rather than, kind of taking a backseat and getting stressed about it, they need to internalize it, and they need to start educating themselves about the good and bad of the social media and the lingo that the students use today. If you do not know the lingo that your children are using today, you just get kind of sidelined. So that's very important. Then another thing which I would tell you is, it's not just the teens. I think it's also the grown-ups, because today when I look at a LinkedIn, it's become a Facebook, and everybody is a commodity, selling themselves and marketing themselves. So when we say that students should not be doing it, I think we need to relook at ourselves. What are we doing? What are we doing? We have made ourselves into a commodity. A small thing you participate in and you put it immediately on the LinkedIn and on the Facebook, and then you are going haywire yourself trying to see how many people are sharing mine, and you're telling people, I see people getting 557 likes, which means they must be liking maybe 2,000 people to get 1/4 of that. So why are we creating a commodity culture? It's us, we are doing it. Why are we blaming the teens? Also, let me tell you one more thing. I think our teens are far more aware people, okay, of what is happening. The only problem with them is too much has been given to them in a very short span of time. And that's the reason why they are not able to kind of make the best possible use of it. So I think instead of just saying that trash it, throw it out of the window, let's first look at balancing ourselves. The grown-ups need to balance ourselves. We need to understand what is good social media, what is not. And I think we can use social media very effectively. You guys have been talking a lot about celebrities creating a false image. I'm saying, what about the image that is being sent about the state of the world that we are seeing? Do we ever pay attention to those things? Do we help our children understand that, well, this could be a very well a fake news? Don't accept everything as you see it. Are we using social media to make our students critical thinkers, inquirers, or are we going to use it just to advocate about themselves? Or are we just going to say, hey, grab a lot of knowledge about a lot of things, get the content from here and there? But what do I do with so much of things? I don't want to create a mess in my mind. I want to understand these are things that could be true, and I must learn to inquire more about them, engage positively with them, and then also have my independent opinion on them. That is important for our teenagers, to become people who are able to evaluate, critique, who are able to do analysis, and also have independent voices and choices. That is what I would use the social media for. And I hope I've said everything. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Deepika ma'am. I think you made 2 or 3 very important points in the complete conversation that we have. Imbibing social media in education, or rather media and education and media in education, we have to understand these 3 or 4 aspects in it. And most importantly, differentiating in the positive and the negative aspects of it, and at the same time, the utility of it as an individual, as a teenager. And at the same time, teens or our children or the next generation learns from our behavior, our reactions, and they see us on social media. They see us on LinkedIn, they see us everywhere, the way we promote ourselves, the way we build our images, our alter egos on that very social media. That's where they get their behavior. So I think there also we need to typically mature a bit more on the use of it. Finally, they've been given too much within a too short span of time. And finally, I think a very important point which can be taken here, and I think there is where I would want our speakers or our experts to get in and share their ideas on, that is our perception about the world really ours? Or has that been rather taken from someone or has been forced on us? So I would like to have Bindu, Chaitanya to typically share their ideas on how is perception of these teens being built? Is it out of a strategy? Is it happening sequentially or is it happening consequentially? What do you think? Because within the industry, you know both parts of the spectrum. You know how social media is used for predating. You also know how social media is used for engaging and education. When we talk to the school leaders, it gives us a structured view of their education. But when you come into the industry part of it, the game completely changes. So what's your idea on the kind of perception are we giving them, or do they have a real perception? Over to Chaitanya.
Hi. So, we had 3 minutes, so I could kind of say half the things that I wanted to say. So I'm going to now use a little bit of time to talk about the other half, right? Which are the good things that we see in kids, and I call them kids, in kids who are active social media users. A couple of things, right? One, we see, so with a particular mindset comes lack of confidence when you compare your normal to someone else's perfect. But the kids who have internalized the fact that this is not social media, this is a digital marketing platform, also understand and turn it around into the great leveler. So that means that your geography, your financial status, your socioeconomic class does not determine how popular you are, right? Or how well your talent is showcased. So the kind of quality that we see a lot of students, young kids put out, who don't come from Pali Hill and Malabar Hill, but come from Pali and Malabar, are really, we're able to see what they're able to do. And the reason we're able to see it is because they've curated a strong social media presence for themselves. So the ones who realize it in time, and the ones who are guided either by their friends or family or parents or uncles or whoever, really know how to make it into the great leveler, right? So I may not, be studying in a English medium, high quality, whatever IB school, but I'm a fantastic filmmaker, and using my cell phone, I can make a really great 30-second clip and post it on Instagram and level me out as compared to somebody who's come from that privileged background when it comes to higher education. So it is the great leveler, without doubt. Second thing is, the students who have the most empathy are the ones who spend more time on social media, because that's the one thing that world gives you, which your close circle of friends doesn't. Because when you do rely on only individual personal interaction, whether it's your family or where you live or the school that you go to, generally everybody is of a similar, relatively similar socioeconomic class, right? So you really don't know, or you're unaware of how the rest of the world lives or behaves or thinks or does. So a widespread use of social media really teaches you empathy. It shows you that there are things in the world other than what your life is, and that your life is just one among many, and the world does not revolve around. So, these are a couple of things that we've really seen, which people who know how to use this well, and people who made the distinction and the differentiation, where they take all of social media and split it into two things. One is digital communication platform, which is your messaging and that kind of stuff, and then your digital marketing platforms. And they know how to use it. They know what to take of it. They know what not to take from it. They know that this photograph that this celebrity has put clearly is not real, right? It's been airbrushed 73 times from here to Timbuktu. So they know that it's not real. They know it's fake. Same thing with lots of things. Anyway, that's one way. The other thing that you kind of spoke about, which is how do we ensure that AI works for us and we don't work for AI, which is what unfortunately it's become, right? So whether it's you, whether it's your friend circle, if you have 18 friends, all of who have liked car videos, whether you like it or no, you'll get suggested a car video, and you don't care about car videos, right? Or whatever. So that's something that you have to identify at an early basis and at an early level, and you have to, elders, friends, elder brothers, sisters, cousins, parents have to try and explain artificial intelligence bias to students. Netflix has a fantastic series for this. It's called Explained, and they explain in 10-minute, 20-minute segments each of these small things, and they really enable 12, 13-year-olds to understand what's going on. So I think it's about education. We're all talking about education anyway. It is about education. So like you educate them about physics, chemistry, biology, history, math, you also need to educate them about social media platforms. And the moment you do that, they understand what to do with it. Just like you walk into a chemistry lab, if you've not been taught, you're going to pour hydrochloric acid on everything and burn it all. But when you've been taught that this is bad, or this is the way it's meant to be used, you will use it appropriately. Exactly the same thing for social media. So as they get into puberty, 12, 13, 11, school should actually pull out maybe an hour a month or 2 hours a month, where maybe not the teachers, but maybe they bring in fresh alumni, maybe they bring in 21-year-olds who just graduated from the school, and have them come and talk to kids about how social media is to be harnessed. And what do you take from it? What do you not take from it? How do you identify that you're being a target of an AI bot? And how do you identify what to ignore?
I think we ourselves need to train teams to be curators themselves as early as possible. As a typically great leveler, it gives us an opportunity to showcase ourselves, but at the same time, understanding the essence of the media that you're using, whether it's for messaging, whether it's for image building, whether it's for digital marketing, try to understand those silos and finally understand the utility of those silos for you. How do they plug it into your life? So Bindu, over to you. You work in the industry of music that typically relies absolutely on social media to build images, to create an individual, because we have seen amazing lot of success stories coming out of people who have been active on social media, who built their images out of this, and right now enjoy professional benefits coming out of it. What would you suggest to schools that how to handle such talent in a way that they also do not get discouraged or depreciate their own talent by using an exposure platform or a social media?
So there are two things that we do, actually. I mean, through the SAPA in Schools program, we work with kids who are as young as 3, and we kind of provide an ecosystem for music education within the framework of school curriculum. So, I mean, we do work with kids on their whole entire journey. Whether you want to be a musician or not, we think it's really important for music to be part of everyone's life. And the reason that I'm bringing this up is because we're sort of on that journey with people from the time they're 1.5 or 2 years old, all the way up into adulthood, and sometimes at teenage when they decide that music or a public persona is something that they want to pursue as a career. And then what we do when we're mentoring people at this sort of juncture of, is this what I want to do, or do I want to be a public personality, is, as I brought up earlier, kind of try to help them understand the difference between putting your life online and creating a public figure that you want others to engage with. So you need to look at social media in some sense as a job. And as Chaitanya ji was just pointing out, right, it is there are series like Explained or The Social Dilemma and all of these things which kind of show you how these algorithms are designed, right? How they want you to spend time on it. And the difference here is, if you are choosing as a content creator, that's very, very different from being a kid who's scrolling endlessly and spending time. And the algorithms reward you for doing things like engaging 10 minutes before you post and 10 minutes after your post. The algorithm rewards you when people save your content. The algorithm rewards you. And so you're not actually even looking for likes anymore, right? You're looking for shares, you're looking for saves, you're looking for... So when you're doing this, you need to be very tactical about it. And what we need to teach our kids is, if you are using this as your digital marketing tool, again, to borrow from what Chaitanya ji said, then you need to look at this as not you. This is how am I presenting art? If you were in a physical store, how would you organize your bookcase or your CD shelf? That is what your social media platform is. It is not you. So if you're expecting people, and I'm not saying that real engagement and conversations don't come from social media, because they often do, but there has to be a very well understood difference between engaging with social media to create your community and to have friends and to live your personal life, and to use it as a tool to grow your career as a performer. And that is something that young people need to understand, so that they, and also when we get involved with kids and help them set up these kind of things, the mental health aspect is extremely important. So if you are able to help them disassociate their public persona from who they are as individuals and not validate themselves with that and look at it as a job. You have to practice your skills. You have to post regularly on social media. You may not like it. You don't have to worry as much about the feedback, but you are doing this for your career. Don't let these people decide whether you get to be happy or not.
I think you gave a very good, very nice advice to all the school leaders.
Very correct. Very correct.
This talk that yes, social media is not you. Let's make social media a job for them. Make it so boring that they are able to have a life beyond the social media. So at this point, I would like to typically, have Siddharth ji come on this. He comes from the space where social media is used for all the negative aspects of it, because there's a lot of product that rides on it. There's a lot of money that rides on it. So if we can have his perspective on how does industry typically look at these algorithms? How does the industry look at how are you engaging people, and is it just for business, or do ethics come in the way of it at some point?
Yeah, so see, we come from one of the most boring categories of products, cement. And cement is something that is not still that social media savvy kind of product. But as a company, we are pretty much involved into social media advertising and marketing, because as everybody said, there is a lot of influence that is created in through social media for products, and to a large extent, we are only limited to showing our presence on the social media with not much fanfare on it. We don't actually use a lot of influencers on the social media, very limited spaces that we are present in right now, but still we are one of the most active in the industry. Having said that we are the most active in the industry, cement per se uses the least of social medias and influences and logarithms as possible in the industry. That is it.
So I actually wanted your perspective on when you are out there buying media, buying influence at any platform, at any media, does ethics come somewhere in the decision making, or it's just the money?
No, definitely ethics come. It's not about just the money at all. For our group, for our company, no, it's the first thing that comes is ethics. We will not get into anything, any product or any kind of situation where our ethics hurt. That may we might, for that matter, not be able to take the best of the things on the social media available, but ethics is something that we do not compromise at all.
Thank you so much, Siddharth. So Siddharth comes from an organization that holds the world record of being the biggest extractor of white marble in the world, and right now I think they're getting into the category of cement as Wonder Cement. He himself is a chartered accountant. So Siddharth, you have been hiring for quite a long time now. You have been, in the teaching arena as well and in the hiring arena as well. What is it that you would want to happen in the next 1 or 2 years that would change things dramatically in a positive way?
I really don't know what can change it, because the way social media is impacting teens, the social media is impacting our lives now. I think it has gone beyond repairs, or kids need to be understood really well. They need to be explained properly the bad sides of it. I don't know how that's going to happen. I mean, I'm lost in words on that and thoughts as well.
Thank you, Siddharth. So the next question actually is for our school leaders. So Alokesh ji, I think Bindu gave a very nice perspective on typically segregating the personality of the individual and the social image of him. And how do you do that in a boarding school when you're already trying to enforce a lot of limitations on the student? Are you in that space that you can start a conversation with these children rather than just putting in more and more rules in place?
In fact, what Mr. Siddharth stated in his last statement, that he doesn't know, he's thoroughly confused, but we can't afford to do it because this is what we have to do it. This is one of our jobs, which is there. In fact, what we try to, from different kind of your programs, which are not, it is all embedded in the curriculum itself. And one is your, as I was mentioning, The value system, obviously, it matters a lot, the value system. And then we try to tell them that, be yourself. You are what you are. You don't have to create a fake image of yourself. And then that particular hunger actually leads to all kinds of problem. Then the other thing is we try to, what Ms. Manju was telling, that collaborative creativity. That is, you make a blog, you make your groups, and do a lot of good campaign which is there. There are so many social issues which are there. You can this is one of the things, and that Greta, who was there doing all kinds of campaigning, of course, I mean, at least they have seen this kind of campaigning which is there. That is the other. Third thing is that we teach them or tell them to audit their what is called the social media diet, like which are the things which are good for them, which are the things that is their ability to, we actually sensitize them about this particular thing, auditing, so that they can discriminate between the good and the bad, and create a better online experience which is there, and also model a good behavior which is there. But these are the things, it is better, it's sounding very better, it's an uphill task, it's not so easy. They get so tempted because social media like Facebook has accepted that they create the algorithm to make the people addicted to it. And this is what we try to tell them. And as Mr. Chaitanya said that, you can always bring the, the alumni. They are one of the, we have a very strong alumni association and all these things. And especially the people who have passed out about 1 year, 2 years back, they are the people who actually, and again, coming back, this social media is the one which has become so easy for them. Now they don't have to come to the school to speak, actually. So they can speak from their respective, places where they are working. So these are the positive things we try to tell them. Like we have had a lot of programs for the students, for the teachers of our alumni who are in their different fields. So like especially the COVID, few of our alumni, they are doctors. So this is the way we try to sensitize and basically, enhance their positivity and their attitude towards the social media. As this is probably Indu said that you cannot escape because you have to have a mixture. But the only thing is the creative positivity and the right kind of attitude toward the social media so that it is beneficial rather than harmful for them. Thank you.
Thank you, Alokesh. And yes, I think the idea of auditing their own self-image or social media image is something that can be thought on when we talk to other schools. ये एक ऐसा idea है जो और बहुत सारे schools replicate कर सकते हैं. That I think Bindu gave a very good point of segregating the individual from the social media image that he has. And Alokesh also talked about how to, tell them or teach them to audit their own presence on social media. I think Chaitanya ji wants to speak something. Chaitanya ji, we are nearly at the conclusion of the talk. Request you to please keep it as crisp as possible. Please, over to you.
I was actually going to say that, boarding schools were created for students to handle social media. So my son moved from a day boarding to full boarding school in the 7th grade. And it was like God sent for me when it came to him and social media, because they would get the phone for 40 minutes every day. They would get their laptop for non-work related things for 1 hour every day, which is the exact amount of time that kids should be on social media in the day. And I was like, thank God, right? And now for the past 1.5 years, they've been at home and on it all day. So, at the beginning of the year, or the beginning when they go to school, when they know that available hi nahi hai, so then that stress is only not there. Then there's no fighting with parents, no fighting with anybody to ask for it. And, I think that those 2 years, which is, before the lockdown happened, when he was in a boarding school with very, very limited to access to social media, he learned so many more things, right? He actually went on to YouTube and watched a dance video and, had never thought of performing arts, and he actually did that. So, they've got their mind share, they've got their mind space, they have to do something with it. When social media is not there, it actually enables them to explore 75 other things. And Captain, you're in the perfect position to teach the world how teens should interact with social media just limiting access to it, right? Which is what we need to see. Social media is not bad. Too much of it is bad. And I'm talking from personal experience.
So limitizing it in some way, and I think Alokesh is quite in a perfect situation where he can tell, okay, that's the 40 minutes, that's all. There's no social media, no electronics beyond this point. Deepika ma'am wants to add something, ma'am. Please, over to you for the next 60 seconds. We are nearly at the end of the talk.
Okay, so I just concluded by saying two things. One of the words I heard in this platform was ethics, which I strongly say is what will actually build up an understanding of what is right and wrong, because we cannot create limits if we don't understand the ethics of everything. And secondly, this whole bit about restricting, we are again coming back to the point whether something can be controlled, should be controlled externally or internally governed. My son went to a boarding school where there was no restriction on this, but then the students were encouraged to actually reach a point where they themselves did not indulge in it. And I think that's a practice which will stand for life. All my life, I cannot have somebody monitoring me. So I would come from the perspective where I build up my students so that they do self-monitoring rather than being monitored externally. And that will come through ethics. So these 2 points will go hand in hand. And I think that's what my take is on this.
Thank you so much, Deepika ma'am. So while we were working with these many teenagers, आज हमने पिछले 60 मिनटों में इतने सारे amazing thoughts सुने जिसमें कुछ ना कुछ आपके लिए जरूर इस्तेमाल आ जाएंगे within your institution, within your family, within your friends, or within that small little group of friends that you have. So while Blub World started its work, हमें एक चीज समझ में आनी शुरू हुई कि जब हम बच्चों को पढ़ाना चाहते हैं, when we want to talk to them, the biggest challenge is lingo. हम उनकी भाषा नहीं बोलना जानते, हम उनसे उस भाषा में बात करते हैं जो हमें आती है, और हम उन्हें वो कहानियां सुनाते हैं जो हमें अच्छी लगती हैं. And that's where we understood the most critical element in education is peer inspiration. If you have to find people that inspire them and that they can relate to. You cannot always tell them, look at this 70-year-old guy, he has an amazing story, get inspired. That won't happen. That's not happening. So that's where we started working, and we started finding stories of teens who were doing amazingly well. So one such story for you before this call comes to an end, a very small story of a teen who started her painting career at the age of 9 months. Had a sold out show at the age of 2 in one of the biggest galleries in Australia, had a completely sold out show in New York at the age of 4, and became nearly a millionaire when she is a teenager. And right now, she's known as the world's youngest professional painter. And that was on the cover of Blub World just some months back. And that's Elita Andre. And that's what we do every month. Try to find teens who are doing amazingly well and sharing their stories with other teens. And we even go a step ahead. Let these teenagers interact with other teens, and that's where they realize what's important in life. How do you build yourself as individuals? And that's where the idea of the World Teen Parliament was born. We are trying to build the world's biggest parliament of teenagers. Anybody who can solve a problem, the World Teen Parliament will fund those teenagers. We're thankful to our supporters and the people who have been helping us in putting this through. The idea is simple. Let the teen solve a problem. If he can solve that with his innovation, the World Teen Parliament will fund him. The only thing that he spends is his attention, his intelligence, and his time. Absolutely nothing else. And I think we all need to understand at this point that we have to build opportunities that let them challenge the status quo. Thank you so much for being a part of the Blub World Web Talks 159th episode. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, and if you want it in the future sessions, you can open your audio, say a big yes, and thank you so much, everybody. Have an amazing evening ahead. Namaste.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, everyone, for wonderful views. It was great sharing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.